What's happening, guys? Awesome day today. A lot of great opportunity. We had a couple big news alerts, MTCH being one of them, match on the FTC headline. That was a really nice one. It's a name that I've been familiar with lately, so I knew the chart well. We had seen it last week. There was a little bit of breakdown that had already occurred, and I was able to react that much faster just because I had seen the chart. So that's, again, one of the reasons why we do the scans every single night. It's just you continually see these charts over and over and over again, and then when you start to see like when a headline comes out, you're able to snap your fingers. You're already in, based on what you may or may not remember from the chart. If you haven't seen it in a while, you might need to go back. All right, how far away is this from the highs? How far? Where's the support? Where's the resistance? What does the chart look like? Is it a potential breakdown? So I knew that if this started to crack, if it started to break down, there was going to be a pretty good unwind towards 68, 65, somewhere in between there, and that was my goal for the wash, and so that's exactly what I did. So MTCH, just to take a look at the chart, I was a little bit late to it because I don't always just chase a headline. It's not, just because a headline comes out does not mean I'm going to be there. What I need to see is confirmation. I need to see it rebound a little bit. I need to see the offers still come back in and actually act heavy. So that's why I ended up waiting a little bit. We did have the headline right around 74 bucks, and then it flushed out, came back up, and I was very happy taking that risk because I knew that this was the base here. You can see the 72, basically 72.60s. Started to kind of ramp up. It was on the high, so it pretty much gave back that entire move from the morning, which then it would make it flat for the day. So at that point, I didn't feel like I was chasing too much because not only had it just gone red, but it also now is going to probably have those 72.60s, which was support, act as a little bit of resistance. So it jumbled around a little bit and then it ended up kind of coming back. So I ended up going short, kind of based on each time that it should have rebounded, it didn't. So it was kind of an on-the-fly decision to scale in, and then it just absolutely flushed out. So that I got the 68s that I wanted to. I had a couple wish orders out there, and then strategically, covered along the way every, I guess this 68.20s, 67.60s, and then 66.80s. So overall, fantastic. Reshorted a little bit into the ramp. It came back down. And left it alone after that. It came back up towards the VWAP, and I started to lean in just in case it decided that it wanted to stay heavy today. And it obviously flushed out, but then it started to come back. And there was one other point where I started to kind of scale back in there. You can see over here. And I just said, you know what, screw it. I'll wait until potentially red to green. So I actually covered right here. But I ended up reshorting shortly thereafter, and then Jim posted in the room some response or whatever from the company. So rather than hang around and kind of see what would happen, I just said, you know what, the meat of the move is over. If it does start to break down later on, then I can always re-add. So I just kicked the trade off. So that was a really good one. AIM, for those of you guys yesterday that were paying attention, look, just because stocks have S1s, S1As does not necessarily mean that, they're going to raise that night. But based on the price action, based off, PSTV, anybody that was long that, obviously that was a tough one, right? And we knew the risk going into it. And like I had said in the morning on, I think that was Wednesday or something, but if you are going to trade it long, which look, there was a great long trade out of the gate. But if you are going to trade it long, just remember, make sure that you're trading with size, that you're okay with it basically doing what it did. That's pretty much worst case scenario, right? When a stock goes from 11 to $4 and you got no choice whatsoever. And so at any rate, I had mentioned, if you are trading it long, obviously you need to be aware of that. But I would not recommend staying long, especially if the price action is heavy. So, same thing with AIM. Yesterday, same comments pre-market. It does not mean that it is 100% short and they are going to raise, but there is a good chance that they're going to, and there is also a good chance that there is elevated risk, right? So anytime there's elevated risk, I try to warn. Sometimes, yes, there is S1As and stuff, but there's not a lot of volume, and it could be any time. Usually they kind of get the stock cranking on some type of PR, get the volume going, and then they try to hit the offering right at that time. So that's PSTV. We knew that, and as they got the volume going, they started ramping it, and obviously they hit it with the offering. So AIM, same thing. We were familiar with this one from just the other day. This gap up and fade day, and I had posted that chart from, I think, fading it from 350s all the way. I closed the trade out right at the bell, and then we had the same thing yesterday, but they did an S1A and they did another S1A, I think 2 yesterday. So they're just trying to do whatever they can to get that effective, and sometimes they do sit on it. Sometimes they've already got it and they're just waiting for that proper moment to hit it. And once once whomever is going to fill the book for them figures it out, fills it, maybe they get short on it. They're not supposed to, but obviously there's pressure. And you can I borrowed some shares this morning, but I was kind of waiting for a potential push. But you can kind of see this morning they were just hammering it short. Because, it really was just a matter of time. So anyway, they did 90 cent raise and then 99 cent warrants. So pretty much dead duck. So hopefully the warnings all week or at least the last couple days helped you guys out, especially if you were long. You're just playing with fire being long AIM after PSTV just scripted this same story out right in front of you. So and it's up to you to either learn or ignore it, and all of that information was there for you. Other than that, what else do we have today? So today, USAT, a couple people were asking me about if I was going to go over it in a trade recap today. This was a trade that I was actually, I guess not super surprised, but a couple days ago, I got hammered on the news, and so obviously it had come in quite a bit, and it had already rebounded, and so then they got the delist notice that they were being delisted to OTC tomorrow. So when it flushed out yesterday, it actually came right back out. So is it right back up? Excuse me. So is it beating a dead horse? Is it is everybody just trapped short again? And so I ended up squeezing out and then started to squeeze out through the day. And so what I think that was just a bunch of shorts that were well, this thing's going to delist. It's obvious short. Everybody knew it was a probable short. It was probably a good fade, but when everybody's on the same page, it's always the supply and demand, right? And if there's too much supply that's been offered out there, and they know they can kind of push it back up, you're going to get a move like we had today. And it was pretty nice steady grind all day today. So I actually left it off of radar, and then I started to come back up here, did a failed follow through momentum. It started to stay heavy, and you can see the 530s and started to fade off, and then we got a little bit heavy here. It tried to retest and hang around that VWAP level. So I started to get short 510s, 5s, 499s, and the reason for that is based on the price action. It finally is suggesting that it's going to unwind, and before it was nice and steady, probably squeezing out those weak hands. But typically, when it gets delisted, funds usually have to liquidate. Maybe an ETF holds it, maybe a particular fund, or what are they called? Mutual funds, things like that. They may not be able to own OTC names. And that doesn't mean that this thing's going to zero. This is a real company, and it's got some issues right now, right? So you might actually see this higher tomorrow or the next day on the OTC land. And there's a very good chance that it could go right back up actually to wherever it was, 758. We might actually see it rally right back up to that level, and we've seen it before. I've learned the hard way many times. in years past when the D-list come and you just get, you size in and it's like no brainer, hold over to the next day because it's going to gap down, and like that's what everybody remembers, but it's hit or miss. So it may gap down tomorrow, it may not, but the liquidity is going to be way lower. It's going to be an OTC. I'll still keep it on radar if it starts to go, but the trade that I took today was I was leaning into the 510 all the way down to the 501s, and then I think I tried to get some. I might have got some at 499. 501, I guess, was the lowest. Flushed out, so I went ahead and locked some in around the core just to pay myself some. Then it came back, stayed heavy, so I said, all right, I'll go ahead and I'll add some more in. So I started to size down, and then I covered it all. And so at the point that I exited the trade, I remember many years past where it kind of squeezes back up into the close. And not necessarily the closing print, just the close. Because the closing print is when the funds usually have that market on close order and they close the books on that. So this had about a 5 million share print or so. So I ended up getting long in this area. I started long, then I had a little bit of a FOMO chase back up. This was, it swiped up, and I was like, oh, sweet, I nailed it. I got the bottom. And so it needed to retest again. So my thought process, my goal for this was to stay relatively small, 420 over and under. Let it, not necessarily a hard stop at 420, but let it jiggle around 420 a little bit. And then as soon as it started to like let the offers up and get thin again, expect it to kind of swipe up. And sort of to do this, only do another one of those. And so I kind of like chased a little bit up just in case and expected another one. Didn't get it, but at any rate, I ended up getting some more 417 and 420s. In my mind, 420s over under was the risk. The level that I was okay with, like I said in the room, was 380s. I was expecting if 420 stuffed and it was going to unwind, I was prepared for 380s. So if you can't stomach that pullback, then it's not really a trade for you, in my opinion. So anyway, got long and ended up selling the majority of it. I kept the third just in case, and then the imbalance order opened. So or the imbalance order showed, and obviously I think at that point it had a 420 close, so it slammed down. So I just took the last 1/3 off towards the close. But overall, fantastic trade. And I was really happy with that one. GSHI, couple trades, did come in towards the close a little bit, but this one I was just dabbling in there. This was not much of a size trade at all. I was just kind of dabbling in long, just testing out the waters and stuff. I don't think I had more than 3,000 shares, for example, in the morning, and then I just got out of the trade. And then I looked for the short. So I started in short, I let it retest VWAP. Started to scale in, short, flushed out. I went ahead and covered a bunch. And then my goal, as I said in the room, like in a perfect world, it gets back up to 86s, basically. 83 to 86 is, I think, what I wrote. So I added 82, 83.5, and 85. And add a little bit more, started to scale, add a little bit more, and I pretty much covered the majority of it at the close, which was around 80 cents or so. 70, 78, 79, 80 cents. But I was looking for a much bigger unwind, but that hung around and kept it up. So, that was that. And let's see, what else we got? Work. And work was just a trend join for me. You can see I kind of just joined the trend, covered some, scaled in, covered some, scaled in, and then moved on 100%. So nice trade. I thought that it could have a pretty decent rebound, but I didn't take part in that, so that worked out as well, but just didn't have any skin in the game on that one. And PHAS, this was another good one. I was pretty happy with this trade. I was getting long 450s, 460s. I positioned in a little bit, not much. This was into the open and whatnot. And a newsletter came in. So of course, my rule is sell right away when a newsletter comes in. But given the fact my average was, I think it was about 460 or so overall, and so at that point I just kind of left it on, let it do its thing. But anytime that happens, especially low float, 90% of the time I'm happier selling. So I was my game plan today, as I said, pre-market was 450s guide, consolidate 450s over and under, and then ideally squeeze out. And we got exactly that. Worked out perfectly. As I said in the room, I got down to about a third size. I had a little bit left on, and I just said the hell with it. So I went ahead and canned the rest of the trade. So I'm not mad. I'm not sad. This was barely a difference because I did a really good job at selling into this ramp. So usually I'm staring at this thing and I'm like, oh boy, like how high could it go? Could it go 520, 550, 6? And I'm going into like it's going to the moon mode. And so I was really happy the fact that I sold a bunch into this. So overall, fantastic trade, and really happy with that. And wondering if there's anything else to go over. EMPH, I just kind of joined the trend. You can see a couple here, and it wasn't really breaking down, so I went ahead and covered there. We had, what was the other one? BLL. Unfortunately, I had a great trade. I got short over here, 74s. I covered some around. I held the core the entire time. I got down to pretty much all the way out. At this point, I covered. Then I put on a third. I re-added some, and then I got squeezed out in the last portion. So I felt like it was going to unwind under those 73s, 7280s, and really come apart. But it just stayed heavy, it didn't stay heavy. It looked like it was going to break down here. I really felt like somebody got caught on the wrong side of the trade, and I thought we were going to have a nice flush out, but we didn't. So as it kind of staircased up slowly but surely, obviously I got squeezed out on the last 1/3. So no biggie, but I was trying to be patient and I just did the wrong thing. So I'm glad I just got out of it. I didn't try to turn it into anything that it wasn't. So that is about it for me. Nike, too many candles. I don't like to trade like this. Got some nice shorts off, covered down into the lows, shorted into the morning ramp, covered a bunch into the lows, shorted throughout the day, and then got a good piece of the last unwind there. So I had a small batch left, and you can see I kind of overstayed on that portion. I knew there was a buyer there going towards the VWAP, but I had small left, so that was it. That was it for me. Good day today. Really happy with the trades. Really good action. And I think that's about it, guys. So have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.